what's the winning strategy? There's only one winning strategy that I see. It's hold the best money. And if you hold the dollar, which is the best currency, you're going to zero. If you hold a weaker currency, you're going to zero in a few years. Gold is a sort of better money than the currency. Stocks are a better money than gold. Bitcoin is a better money than the stocks. But let's talk about this a bit. The conventional organization, company, investor, they think the S&P index, they think corporate equity is the best money. They have monetized it, and that's what they're using. And so I wanted to break down what corporate equity looks like versus Bitcoin. You know, the traditional return of the S&P index is about 7% a year. Well, Bitcoin should, in theory, return 14% a year. It's returned a lot more. It's returning 40, 50% a year over the past 3 years and much higher over a longer period. But I want to lay out the reason that companies don't work as well as perfect money or digital money. First of all, you've got the dilution that comes from management. The management's going to pay themselves 1% of your return every year. You've got the risk of labor. Companies unionize, they have to pay labor. The cost of labor keeps going up. It's another 1%. You've got competition. There's going to be someone that's going to produce more gold or more iPhones or more something, more computers. It's going to cost you another 1%. You've got technology. You had a really good camera business, and then the camera becomes software. It's going to cost you 1%. You've got regulation. The EU is going to actually fine Facebook or Google for doing something on the web. It's going to cost you 1%. You've got taxation. If I can locate your employees, locate your management, locate your company, locate your headquarters, it's going to cost you 1%. And then you've got war. And the war may be a hot war where you've got a tanker and I blow it up, or it may be an economic war like a tariff, and I'm just going to put a 25% tariff on you. Companies have all those risks. If you ask what's the cost of it, about 7% a year. What you can expect is over time, over 100 years, you're always going to pay the 7%. Now, what's the implication of getting a 7% yield versus a 14% yield? Because Bitcoin actually avoids that. How does Bitcoin avoid it? The Bitcoin virtues are we replace management with cybernetic control. The software controls the system, not people. The software does the work for free. I replace labor with a digital system. I replace competition with an immaculate conception. There's only one Bitcoin. Satoshi gave it as a gift to the world. There's no competitor. There's no second best. Why? Because someone created this, gave it away to the rest of us without any beneficial interest in it. That's what makes it unique, irreplaceable, special. That instead of technology risk, like the iPhone 15, Bitcoin is just money, 1/21 millionth of everything there's ever going to be. It's not going to actually obsolete. It's immortal product. In 1,000 years, you're going to want to own 1/21 millionth of everything there is. In 100,000 years, you're going to want to own 1/21 millionth of everything there is. That's how you escape the competitive downdraft, and that's how you avoid the technology destruction. And of course, with regulation, taxation, and war, by being a digital asset, you're living in cyberspace. You can't destroy it. It's indestructible, it's incorruptible, it's global. Bitcoin's going to duck the exposures of these other systems. So what's the implication of that? If you had $1 million today in your company or in your family, and you hold it in cash in the world reserve currency at a 7% inflation rate, in 100 years, you will have, in today's dollars, $977. You will go from 1 million to 1,000. You'll lose 1,000x. It's 1 divided by 2 to the 10th. If you take all your $1 million and buy government bonds yielding 3.5% interest, you're going to have a 3.5% negative real yield carry that for 100 years, you're going to have $31,000, 3% of your wealth. If you're brilliant and you invest in the S&P, you're going to have $1 million. You'll have the same value, the same wealth in 100 years you have right now, but no more. If you take half of it and invest it in Bitcoin and the other half in the S&P, you're going to have $512 million. And if you go 100% Bitcoin, you're going to be a billionaire. All you got to do is flip your $1 million into Bitcoin, hold it at 7% real yield 100 years, and that's the money you have times 2 to the 10th. And so you can see in a very simple way, there's a winning strategy, there's a losing strategy. Every other strategy is, the trading, the investing, is just a waste of time. You could ask, what about the real world? Here's real world. In the last 2.5 years since MicroStrategy entered Bitcoin, Bitcoin has outperformed the S&P, the NASDAQ, gold, silver, and bonds. Bonds are destroying wealth. Silver is destroying wealth. Gold is destroying wealth. Bitcoin's crushing everybody. And you can say, well, what about MicroStrategy? All the guys on Twitter, they're all like Twitter trolls. Hey, you lost some money investing in Bitcoin. That's the MicroStrategy performance. That is your company on a Bitcoin standard. That is your family on a Bitcoin standard. See, you keep dollar cost averaging or Bitcoin cost averaging. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter at what price you buy. What matters is you keep buying and you don't sell and you don't invest in the bonds, the silver, the gold, and the rest. The future? The world's in an economic war, but the world is beginning to realize Bitcoin is the superior asset. And as they realize that, Bitcoin is going to demonetize all these other assets over time. It's going to first demonetize gold, because gold doesn't make any sense, and then it's going to demonetize the other store of value assets, the real estate, the S&P index, the bonds. And so you're going to get a 30x bump as we demonetize gold, but there's no reason why you can't have a 500x increase in today's dollars by demonetizing these other things.
A 500x. Let's take a second. Let's take a second. A 500x. Bitcoin's price when he recorded that was $30,000 in mid-2023. Okay, a 500x from there, that's $150 million per Bitcoin in 2023 dollars. So whatever $150 million could buy you in 2023, that's what Michael Saylor is implying from that specific moment on that stage there. That is what he's implying. But let that sink in. If you're still trading after you heard that, and you think he's even fractionally perhaps on the right trajectory, that's something to think about. By the way, that would make Michael a trillionaire. In nominal terms, right? Well, actually, no, it pretty much close to real terms too. That's crazy. But yeah, it might in real terms make him a trillionaire, and in nominal terms, he might be a quadrillionaire, a quintillionaire, or something even more, right? A decaquintillionaire or something. It's preposterous, right? The point is, Bitcoin is designed to appreciate forever because it's designed to require more energy to produce forever in terms of everything else. And so if you're pricing Bitcoin in terms of energy or you're pricing Bitcoin in terms of productivity, it's only going to be worth more and more and more. Bitcoin in US dollars is an oxymoron. It's like trying to price a locomotive in terms of horses. Okay, the horse literally can't do what the locomotive can do, right? It's like trying to price Elon Musk's Starship in terms of the home rocket I can launch in my backyard, right? It's like they're not priceable. Oh, well, you can compare the amount of energy that one exerts and compare that, it's like, yes, but the mission, the objective is not priceable. One gets to orbit, the other one doesn't. It's priceless, right? Bitcoin is priceless in terms of gold. It is priceless, especially in terms of dollars. And so speaking of something that's very, very valuable, if you want to meet these people in person, if you want to meet the future millionaires, billionaires, potentially trillionaires, like Michael Saylor and the many other wonderful people. Last year, this conference that we're reacting to with Michael, in Prague in 2023 had lots of the most important and famous people in Bitcoin's early days here. Michael Saylor, obviously, Adam Back, of course, one of the only people on the planet to be mentioned in Bitcoin's white paper, right? If you want to meet people like Michael Saylor, like Adam Back, like Robert Breedlove, or the numerous people there, I will also be there. If you want to meet them, again, you should click the link in the description. You can use my code Luke10 for 10% off. Like, yes, I'm trying to get you to go because I want to meet you and it's going to be a fun time and you get to hang out with us all. But I'm also saying this because, hey, if you use this code, you get 10% off. I get a little bit back too, but hey, might as well save you some sats, right? Save you some energy. And you can save more by paying in Bitcoin. You get another 5% off there. So if you want 15% off your ticket to this conference to see what amazing speeches, presentations, and discussions off camera are going to occur in person, you should consider getting a ticket. You should consider going out there and joining. It's going to be a really good time.
And I'll end with this thought. We have laser eyes because laser eyes say focus on what you can change, save what you can save. In this particular case, you can make Bitcoin a success. You can tell the world about Bitcoin. No country can stop inflation. Nobody can stop inflation. I can put you in charge of the world. You cannot stop inflation. 99% of the companies, they cannot outrun inflation. 99% of the workers, they cannot outrun inflation. 1% may beat the market by skill and luck. Don't assume you'll be the 1%. Everybody can buy Bitcoin. So, buy Bitcoin. Thank you.
Consider buying Bitcoin. If you don't own any Bitcoin yet, consider buying some, even if it's just a little bit of energy, right? You have to start somewhere. You might as well get off zero with a little bit. And once you buy Bitcoin, you now have to consider, now that I have transitioned my energy from an inferior energy storage system into a superior energy storage system, the question is, now where am I going to store that energy? The fundamental problem you're focused about and trying to solve right now is having an inferior energy storage system into a superior energy storage system. And now that you're having to keep track of it, what are you going to do, right? Good. You've upgraded to gold. Where are you going to keep it? You're going to put it in your house safe? You're going to put it in your backyard? You're going to put it under your pillow? What are you going to do? This is why I work at the Bitcoin Advisor, because it's really important to not have single points of failure. The Federal Reserve is a single point of failure for the US dollar. You've fixed that now. Congrats. You've gotten Bitcoin. But you have to keep in mind, what happens if something happens to you? What happens to your wife? What happens to your kids? What happens to your business? What happens to your future if you forget your keys? All right. How do you protect yourself against losing the gold? How do you protect yourself against someone breaking in and stealing your gold out of your house? How do you protect those things, right? How do you protect your seed phrase? How do you have an estate plan for your future generations? So if you want to have assistance in learning about how to protect your precious Bitcoin that is going to increase in value perpetually, that this is going to be a perpetually rising problem for you, right? If Bitcoin does a 500x in purchasing power, you're probably going to want an upgrade, or at least a diversification to an upgrade of a better custody solution. Okay, I'm just saying you might want to think about that. And if you don't, there are going to be lots of other people that will. So if you want help thinking about how am I going to make sure my Bitcoin custody is set up so I'm protected against lost keys, against theft, or against nation state attacks, and ideally minimizing my tax bill and this and that and that and that. If you want help thinking through what are my single points of failure and how can I maximize my efficiency at stacking sats, click the link in the description. I'd be more than happy to help. I work at the Bitcoin Advisor. This is what I do all day, every day. I help lots of people figure out how to get as much Bitcoin as possible and how to keep as much Bitcoin as possible, because that is going to be the problem people have. We're only 15 years into Bitcoin's life, and millions of Bitcoin have already been lost. And so you have to think about that. How many more hundreds of thousands, if not couple million Bitcoin are going to be lost? Okay. We are in the ancient days of Bitcoin's adoption. We are still in the infancy days of Bitcoin's adoption. Many coins are going to be lost. Many people are going to have them stolen. Many people are going to make unfortunate errors for losing their keys and not passing on to future generations properly. So it's my hope that in this video today, reacting to Saylor, number one, consider buying Bitcoin. Number two, click the link in the description. Consider joining some Bitcoin event, hopefully this event in Prague in 2024. And then third, please keep in mind, watch your single points of failure. Make sure you're protected because the new single point of failure is yourself, and that's okay. But you just have to keep these things in mind. So click those links in the description, check it out, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey there, if you're considering going to a Bitcoin conference, I highly encourage you to consider Prague in June of 2024. There are lots of great Bitcoin conferences out there, but this one in Prague is one of the largest ones of them all. And there are a lot of amazing things with this conference uniquely that I think you should potentially consider. I did not go last year in full transparency, but it was only their first year, and they had an incredible lineup. Michael Saylor was there, Adam Back was there, Robert Breedlove, Stefan Libera. Many people were there that I felt a lot of FOMO, frankly. I wished I was there. And so I'm very grateful to say that I reached out to the Prague team and I said, hey, I wanted to go to your conference last year. I didn't. I don't want to make that mistake this year. And so I am going. Very grateful to say that I am going to the Prague conference in June of 2024. So if you want to meet me, if you want to meet all the other Bitcoin speakers there, and again, they have a really great lineup coming, a lot of things they haven't even announced yet. But it's a really good opportunity. Yes, if you're in America, where you might be watching this, it's a longer flight over there, a bit more expensive travel to get there. But once you're there, you're in Europe, and things are much cheaper than they are in the US, at least in Prague. So that's something really to keep in mind, that it's probably a lot more realistic than you think. And I think it's going to be a really low noise and really high signal conference. So if you want a good place to go, consider going there. I am offering, a discount code for there, right? I am speaking there, so I do have a discount code. You can get 10% off. Actually, you can get 15% off if you pay in Bitcoin. But even if you pay in fiat, you can get 10% off. So click the link in the description. You can get 10% off your ticket. If you're going anyway, you might as well use the code. And hopefully I'll see you there. Would love to see you there and meet you before or after, the conference or whatever. So comment down below if you're going or not. Would love to meet you. So put the link in the description. Click on that to buy your ticket. And comment down below if you're going, and would love to meet up. So thanks.